the like, where does the love go vibe. You know, like you have so much like loss, but that person is just still out there, and it takes your own restraint, reminding yourself why it's not the right thing.
Allegations have exploded across social media, claiming Camila Cabello was the original favorite for the role of Maria in Steven Spielberg's celebrated remake of West Side Story. The rumors surfaced with such intensity that fans practically salivated at the idea of Camila's sultry vocals in that iconic role. Then, as if overnight, the buzz shifted, and a complete newcomer named Rachel Zegler swooped in to snatch the part. People blinked in shock.
And also, it's like feels very out of your control, because sometimes it's like, I wanted it to be this person so bad. It's really tough. Like it really feels like you can't always get what you want kind of thing.
Watching a then unknown high schooler suddenly become the next big Hollywood darling. Fast forward to today, and that same star, Rachel Zegler, stands at the center of one of Disney's biggest box office humiliations. With the new Snow White fiasco, critics are livid, fans are divided, and industry insiders whisper that the meltdown might never have happened if the original plan, Camila Cabello starring in West Side Story.
Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of like, I don't know, vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing, before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
Remaking the movie, they just got rid of the dwarves, but they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it, the disability, like we're a disability group, you just erase that whole.
Had stayed in motion. Some are outright blaming Rachel for toppling an entire movie, tarnishing Disney's live-action track record, and fueling a whirlwind of negative chatter that refuses to die down. And let's be frank, a lot of folks aren't too sympathetic.
Who wants a movie about true love? What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Eliana? The outrage.
Toward Rachel's meteoric rise, especially now that it's seemingly come crashing into 1,000 pieces. If you've been following this saga, you know it's turned into a circus of accusations, memes, and endless speculation. Fans can't help but wonder if this so-called Rachel effect has caused more trouble than it's worth. From the overshadowing of other talents to a movie meltdown so severe.
It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it like on a metaphor?
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
It's shaping up to be the talk of the decade. One thing is crystal clear, every day, the conversation grows louder and every headline gets juicier. Strap in, because we're about to dissect exactly how Rachel Zegler waltzed into Hollywood, seemingly outshined Camila Cabello, and found herself embroiled.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo.
In a jaw-dropping Snow White disaster that's left Disney scrambling for answers. And from the way insiders are telling it, things are only going downhill from here. Long before Rachel Zegler's name had even grazed a casting director's desk, industry chatter pointed straight at Camila Cabello as the prime contender for West Side Story. The synergy seemed too perfect.
So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
Camila's chart-topping music career, her background that fit comfortably within the Latin portrayal the film demanded, and her ability to pack arenas suggested she'd be a surefire hit on the silver screen. Fans pinned their hopes on her, confident that the pop sensation could bring both authenticity and star power to a modern retelling of the classic musical. Then, out of nowhere,
She came out and she said, I apologize. Like, I went too far. But it wasn't sincere.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
Rachel Zegler's name emerged, plastered across entertainment outlets and Hollywood gossip boards. It felt like a switch had flipped behind the scenes. Suddenly, the entire buzz around Camila evaporated, replaced by talk of a fresh face discovered through YouTube covers and school musicals.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
I wanted my money back. It was very disappointing. Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
Onlookers were baffled, left asking, what about Camila? Where did that inside scoop go? Even more peculiar was how hush-hush the studios remained about any prior negotiations with the Havana singer. Camila's supporters insist she had all but signed a contract, and the rumor quickly took on a life of its own. Social media lit up with heated debates, with many proclaiming Camila was robbed of her big movie moment. The frustration was palpable, and it deepened when the film debuted to critical acclaim.
Controversy in Snow White. The dwarves have been eliminated in the live action.
Yeah.
Now it's Snow White and the 7 magical beings.
Wait, it's 7 and the magical beings.
Yeah,
They won't even say
magical
and the 7
beings.
dwarves.
No, because they're not dwarves. For right now, that's the only jobs that are there.
Praise that many Camila fans believe should have been directed her way. The rumor burned hot too, because it was impossible to ignore that the role of Maria requires top-notch vocal performance, something Camila has proven countless times. Instead, the film catapulted Rachel Zegler into the A-list conversation, leaving Camila's ardent admirers bitter over what might have been. Behind the scenes, you could almost hear the tension sizzling. The chatter suggested Camila felt blindsided.
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of
into this, the first villain Disney ever had. It's really getting myself into this big crown.
And a few insiders whispered that she'd even taken it as a personal rejection from Spielberg's creative team. There wasn't a massive feud in public, but the sense of betrayal, real or imagined, lingered. And it's that seed of resentment that many now say set the stage for the unraveling of Rachel Zegler's image, especially once the Snow White fiasco reared its ugly head. Almost. Nobody saw Rachel Zegler coming, until she was everywhere.
Lines that they say, like magic mirror on the wall. It was a lot of fun.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
Young, bright-eyed, and undeniably talented, she took the lead in West Side Story and turned it into her personal triumph. Critics raved about her voice, her presence, and the sheer charm she brought to the screen. Hollywood loves a fresh face, and Rachel seemed to embody that unstoppable next big thing energy.
They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
Interviews showcased her as articulate and outspoken, ready to tackle big themes and be the modern star the industry was craving. In those early months of hype, it felt like she could do no wrong. Spielberg himself showered her with praise, calling her a revelation. The film community embraced her as the perfect blend of old-school musical flair and new-wave audacity. Headlines ran stories daily about her Cinderella-like journey from viral covers to top-tier stardom. Disney, always on the prowl for rising sensations, wasted no time in scooping her up for a high-profile project, the live-action remake of Snow White. It was supposed to be a slam dunk. From the outside, it looked like a storyline plucked from a fairy tale. She went from local theater productions to featuring in major magazine spreads, from a nobody to walking the biggest red carpets. Her social media following exploded, giving fans access to her personal life, her activism, and her daily musings. Industry analysts predicted she might be the new face of the Disney brand, someone who could connect with younger audiences while satisfying older fans longing for that classic Disney magic. But with hype comes heightened expectations. The gossip machine began churning. Was Rachel truly that gifted, or was this a manufactured phenomenon orchestrated by executives eager for a fresh marketing angle? Had Camila Cabello's near involvement in West Side Story been purposefully shelved so a newcomer could be framed as the next unstoppable star? The speculation was endless, but no one could deny that Rachel had ascended rapidly. Then came Snow White, and everyone expected another staggering win. This was the moment Rachel could show her range and hush any doubters who thought her success was a fluke. Little did people know those doubts would multiply, and the Snow White production would become a magnet for negative press. At first, the Snow White live-action remake attracted huge anticipation. Disney fans worldwide buzzed over set photos, costumes, and the chance to see an iconic tale reimagined for a modern audience. Rachel Zegler portrayed it as a revolutionary project, hinting that this version of Snow White would be more daring, more spirited, and more aligned with contemporary values. On paper, it sounded like a bold step forward, a chance to reintroduce a classic story with fresh perspective. Then, everything went haywire. The marketing materials felt scattered, with some trailers leaving viewers confused about the tone. Controversies erupted over rumored changes to the dwarf's portrayal, with certain audiences claiming Disney was tinkering too much with the beloved classic. Rachel didn't help matters when she seemed to brush off the 1937 original as outdated. Traditionalists pounced, accusing her of disrespecting the timeless Disney heritage. Reports of on-set tension began leaking. Crew members whispered that Rachel was behaving like Hollywood's next unstoppable diva. She allegedly clashed with others over script notes, costume changes, and the film's direction. Word spread that the so-called new Queen of Disney was ruffling too many feathers, too fast. Online fandoms took sides, some applauding Rachel's confidence, others labeling her as arrogant. As production wrapped, insiders braced for a storm. Early test screenings apparently went poorly, with audiences complaining about inconsistencies in tone. By the time opening weekend rolled around, the negativity surrounding the film had reached a fever pitch, culminating in a shockingly low box office intake that no one saw coming. The meltdown was immediate, with critics calling Snow White a forced reinvention that lacked heart. Rachel's performance, once deemed unstoppable, was now under the microscope. Industry watchers quickly labeled the film a dangerous misfire for Disney. Fans grew so irritated with the media hype around Rachel that Not My Snow White trended sporadically on social platforms. Suddenly, the actress who had soared from unknown to A-lister was back in the hot seat. Some fans recalled how Camila Cabello might have sparked a more organic interest if she had been given the kind of breakout opportunity Rachel received in West Side Story. Others doubled down on their support for Rachel, calling the criticism a targeted attack. But beneath those arguments, one question lingered. Did Disney bet on the wrong rising star? The fiasco hinted that Rachel's perceived attitude and questionable remarks had accelerated the film's downfall, overshadowing any good intentions it may have had. Soon, more sinister whispers surfaced that her initial success was built on a shaky foundation, possibly pushing aside talents like Camila in the process. And from there, it only got more scandalous. Whenever Hollywood experiences a meltdown of this magnitude, rumors of shady deals and behind-the-scenes politics tend to follow. Whispers from the casting corridors claim that Rachel Zegler's path to the West Side Story role involved more maneuvering than just an impressive audition. Some have gone as far as to suggest that certain executives were fixated on crafting a new star image from the ground up, a star they could mold to fit current cultural narratives. Camila Cabello, already a global pop phenomenon, might have been too established, too opinionated, or just too big for the narrative they wanted to spin. Those allegations hint that Rachel was handpicked not just for her talent, but for her adaptability and social media presence. She was the perfect canvas, one rumor claims, someone they could hype as discovered talent. Meanwhile, Camila's involvement was either minimized or outright dismissed once Rachel entered the scene. The idea of a star like Camila overshadowing the film itself appeared risky to certain producers who wanted the musical to be front and center, not overshadowed by an already famous singer. Word of Rachel's alleged attitude on set began trickling out long before Snow White officially tanked. Insiders paint a picture of a performer intoxicated by the sudden fame. She supposedly butted heads with even seasoned professionals, offering unsolicited script suggestions and heated opinions about production details. Some say the crew found her unstoppable ambition exhilarating at first, until it became suffocating. But here's the real kicker. It's rumored that a few top-tier players in the film industry turned sour on Rachel when they realized the extent of her demands. They'd quietly hoped that someone with her relatively short resume would remain humble, especially around industry veterans. Instead, they got the opposite. A star who believed her early success crowned her the voice of an entire generation. Some of these insiders also claim that if Camila Cabello had been in her shoes, she would have managed the balancing act better, given her prior experience with fame and touring. Now that Snow White has dramatically underperformed, these behind-the-scenes stories are getting louder. People who once worked with Rachel are now freer to share their negative encounters. It's created a near-feeding frenzy among bloggers, tabloids, and YouTube commentators. And there's one central takeaway. The meltdown could have been prevented if cooler heads, and perhaps more seasoned stars, had prevailed. Still, the controversy was far from over. When a Disney film flops, it's not just a small hiccup, it's a crisis with massive financial and reputational implications. The live-action remakes are supposed to be Disney's golden ticket, reliable hits that draw nostalgic older fans while enchanting younger ones. But with Snow White bombing so spectacularly, studios are left shaken. Reports suggest the movie cost a fortune to produce and even more to market. The meager returns left executives scrambling to justify the gamble. Enter the unstoppable blame. Game. Rachel Zegler took the brunt of the heat, with critics accusing her of alienating die-hard Disney loyalists. Her remarks dismissing the original Snow White as outdated only fueled the narrative that she didn't respect Disney's legacy. Those who might have forgiven a single misstep were confronted with repeated quotes in interviews where Rachel seemed overly eager to modernize the story without honoring its roots. The backlash was swift and merciless. In the aftermath, rumors swirled that Disney was rethinking its entire strategy for future live-action adaptations. Some rumors say they might introduce stricter guidelines for stars, ensuring they respect the source material and remain more disciplined in public statements. Others believe the meltdown has ignited a fierce internal debate at the studio. Should they focus on crowd-pleasing loyalty to tradition or double down on modernization? Unfortunately for Rachel, her name has become entwined with everything. That went wrong. But there's more to this evolving story. In the midst of the Snow White fallout, Camila's fans have found renewed vigor in pointing out that they called it from the very beginning. They're rallying across platforms like Twitter, TikTok, and fan forums, citing every piece of evidence that their idol was once tapped for Spielberg's film, only to be replaced by an unknown whose path eventually led Disney astray. One glance at the chatter reveals a strong undercurrent of indignation. Camila already had the chops, the star power, the proven track record, they argue. Why risk it all on an untested newcomer who might crack under pressure? This chorus of supporters claims Camila could have not only soared in West Side Story, but also channeled that momentum into a major Disney project, one that wouldn't have turned into the fiasco Snow White became. They hold up Camila's global fan base, pointing to the unwavering devotion that has pushed her singles to the top of the charts time and again. In their eyes, had Spielberg and Disney made different decisions, the entire musical landscape might have had a smoother ride. Some even push the narrative that Rachel's so-called meltdown should be a lesson to casting directors. You can't manufacture authenticity, they proclaim, suggesting that while Rachel's talent is undeniable, her approach may be overshadowed by inexperience and overconfidence. Camila, by contrast, has navigated public scrutiny and controversies before, always returning with hits that galvanize her fans. It's a story of resilience, they say, something they believe the Snow White production sorely lacked. The argument doesn't end there. Camila's supporters also point to the lost cross-promotional opportunities. Imagine a major motion picture fronted by an established pop star whose music videos consistently rack up millions of views. The synergy could have been endless, and the box office draw immense. Instead, the abrupt pivot to Rachel Zegler set in motion a series of events culminating in negative press, poor fan reception, and sagging ticket sales. As these debates grow louder, they converge on one vital question. Did Hollywood's obsession with discovering the next big star push them to snub a proven artist who could have delivered the success they craved? The conversation is heated and relentlessly ongoing, fueling speculation about what could have been and what might still come, especially if Camila decides to pursue another major film role. This might be the final note for now, but in Hollywood, the story never really ends. It only evolves, thrives on speculation, and devours reputations with unrelenting hunger. And whether you see Rachel Zegler as a villain, a victim, or something in between, one thing's for sure. This fiasco isn't fading anytime soon. It's a lesson for every aspiring star and every anxious executive that's sometimes chasing that. Unstoppable breakout success can spiral into an unstoppable meltdown.